They don't want what we know out there. They'll never get those on CNBC, but our school system will never tell us it does. They're part of the posse. Fake money, fake future. Stay back. I know the game of the rich. My rich dad taught me. You know, cause you're the banker. The bankers and the rich play is different than what they teach you in school all over the world. What the school teach you about money, and the answer is nothing, and that's not a mistake, that's not an accident. I knew that most people know that the way to keep the poor and middle class working hard has never teach them what the rich know. So if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which came out in 1997, it's what the rich teach our kids about money. The poor middle class do not. Poverty hurts. I mean, I don't like it, and I don't like that our academic system's so corrupt. You know, we know the banking system is corrupt, we know politics is corrupt, but academics is just as corrupt. I mean, one thing if it's the banking in the politics, but this is where we send our children and we trust them to do the right things for them, and yet they're being not taught something so fundamental. Like you asked your dad when you were a kid, Dad, oh, yeah, Stratego teach us about money, and it was just never, and they'll never will. You know something? What do you know? Share it. What is financial education? It's not get a job, work hard, save money and invest in a well-diversified portfolio, stocks, bonds, mutual funds and ETFs. The financial industry is two things: debt and taxes. 1971 Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard and the US dollar became debt, and we still tell kids to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money and get out of debt. Now who tells them to do that? That's the most ridiculous thing there is. The book starts and it says line number 1, saving money will make you rich and ever. Well, you know that all taught that as kids. Why would you save it? And why would you work for it if they can print it had faster than you can work for it? Why do you keep saving when they are printing it? Rich don't work for money. Don't you touch that stuff. It's very subtle. Yeah, they don't say I'm gonna train you to be a worker bee the rest of your life, but they educate you in a way where that's what you come out, right? What else was he? What was he trying to do those first few months? Were you working for him? What was he trying to get across you? Because he taught you the hard way about money, and she said if you're gonna be successful in your lives, you've got to find the best teachers, and a great teacher is somebody who comes from the inside, not the outside. But in school, you don't know if your instructor is for real or not. That's where the fake teacher comes from. I said I want you to teach me about money. So it was, so why should I teach you? He said, but if I teach you, you work for me for free. And I said, why for free? My dad, my poor dad, what nuts. He says is if I pay you, you think like an employee. Your brain will change. If you learn never to work for money, you'll be a rich man. And this is powerful. Once you give someone a paycheck, their brain turns off, right? Because it had been the promise of a pension, right, and job security, which is kind of a paycheck in disguise, correct? After you stopped, give the man a fish eats for the day, teach him to fish eats for a lifetime. And most poor people confuse assets and the liabilities. They think their home is an asset. It's actually a liability, right? An asset is a noun like a house. Cash flow is a verb, so to understand if it's an asset or liability, it takes a noun plus verb. So if the cash is flying out of your pocket, it's a liability. If the cash is flowing into your pocket, has it burn? That's it. So I own 7,000 rental properties, also assets. Every month the cash flows in, whereas many people have the big house of the hill and the cash is flowing out right now. They're going broke, right? It's like a frame of mind. The other thing the poor don't understand is the number one expense for most people is taxes, and yet we don't even see it. Isn't that weird? You walk around and you look at the paycheck and say, oh, that doesn't seem right, and you don't realize that the government's got a huge hand in your pocket and you are doing nothing to minimize that. Again, this is what was very different about the rich and the poor. The rich don't work for money is number one. Expensive tax. See, there's 3 kinds of income: earned, portfolio, passes. So earned income is if I get a job, that's earned income. If I'm a doctor or a programmer, that's burning because I'm working for. If I buy buy pilots and Apple for $10, I sent over 20, that's portfolio income, capital gains. Yeah, but passive income, which is cash flow, is never taxed. That's all of these guys are screaming right now in America. Tax too rich is a good luck, because most of the guys complaining they don't know the 3 kinds of income, and the rich don't have jobs. Anyway, they have assets, and so the average small out there poor guy, sent the kid to school. They don't learn this. You see, very few people will buy what I do, make $1 million and pay 0 tax. And my rich dad taught me that playing Monopoly, that's how it started. For greenhouses, 1 Red Hotel, or the McDonald's for me. I write about it. McDonald's, Ray Kroc. Yeah, McDonald's is in the real estate business. So they sell hamburgers, but they buy real estates. They pay no taxes. You know this guy Bezos, but his $16 billion, how much tax did append to $16 billion? And that's all legal. Anyone can do it. Everybody could to put everyone. Most people lack the education, so once you learn how to use debt as money, you can never say I can't afford it because the banks will give you. So the banks, after the crash of 2008, the banks gave me $300 million tax-free when they asked the average guys that why don't you use a debt? They can't even get a loan because there are scores, their FICO scores, when only we have them here, are so bad the school teachers will never tell you about because they don't know it. My poor dad never knew that you don't know if something has an asset or liability until you can see which way the cash flows. So a house is that it hasn't a liability. Well, if it's taking money from your pocket, it's liability. It's putting money in your pocket, it's an asset. The US government wants me to provide housing, wants me to provide jobs, wants me to borrow money because that's how money is created, through debt. I get huge tax breaks. Everybody can do the same thing if they had the financial education to do it. If people understood the tax code, we'd be more prosperous. But can poverty be passed through genetic? Yes, because it's some type of way of thinking, it's an attitude. It's very simple. When I wanted people ask you how do I stop it? I just never say I can't afford it. Ask yourself how can I? The reason I have so much money is because I don't say I can't do it, I just got how can I do? And I guess one to it. I make a lot of mistakes, but that's how I learned. How can I? And poor people like my poor that always that I can't afford it. You think I'm made of money? I'm a school teacher. I can't do that, and I picked that up, and my rich dad never said those words. So when I make poor people that use the words I can't a lot, so the people that said I can't afford it, I can't do this, I can't get to college, the rich, are you able them? I choose not to participate in that, and that's one thing people could change today right now, is that dialogue in their head to stop saying the word can't. I can't, right? So, how can I, especially as in I can't afford it, how can I afford that? Because that opens them up to looking at it as an investment to a greater future. Right? You know, when I borrowed $300 million, I couldn't do it. When I told, I went to ask, and I got turned down so many times as a hill, and every time I showed the back of my financials, they go sorry. I said, look, do me a favor. Why did you turn me down? You tell me you business out. The numbers are out here. So I get these numbers fixed. Can I come see you again? Because sure, so it's called rejection, same as my wife rejected me for 6 months. It's just a matter of personal willpower, was a spiritual to signal if they can do it. I can do it, and how can I, and I think it's you once said words become flesh. Yep. I was a Bible to intelligence increases through your mistakes, through the ups and downs of what you've learned. Real estate, what I learned made me richer, not the money. You don't need money to make money, you know. I think all of us, every human being has at low point in their life, and if they get the message, a new life begins. If you don't get the message, they keep going down. The richer I got was because I didn't need any money. I could use this to make money. But how did I get there? So I made a lot of mistakes. People are afraid of making mistakes, and all those for fear of failing. Nice, so very nice. So many people trapped in the same device.